Good evening, and welcome to Cindy Dennis Ministries. My name is Warren Johnson, and I'd like to thank the good people at Cindy Dennis Ministries for allowing me to be the first speaker of the year. This year's book is an interesting book that I want to talk about. It's going to take me about 10, 15, 20 minutes maybe to discuss the major parts of the book that I found most fascinating. The book itself brings to mind Matthew 18:20, which reads, "For when two or more are gathered together in my name, I am there among them." In a nutshell, that's what this book is all about. That's the theme for this book. The author, Tony Evans, lays out the battle that is waged against sin through prayer. All right. Then he describes the full armor of God that he wants us to put on or think about as we pray. He describes it as the everyday pieces of armor. He first starts to talk about the belt of truth, and when I was growing up, I remember a different belt of truth. But this one talks about the fact that when you're walking in God's truth, the strength that comes along with that is something that's amazing. As he lays out the other pieces of the armor of God, he talks about the breastplate of righteousness, the shoes of peace, the shield of faith, and the helmet of salvation. He talks about each piece so that we could understand once we've put on the full armor of God, we're unstoppable when it comes to prayer. He discusses each of them one at a time, and he applies them to a number of different prayer situations that you might find yourself in. And every now and then when we're walking, we find ourselves getting ready to sing that song, "It's me, it's me, it's me, oh Lord, standing in need of prayer." And, when we get to those different points, he's got some particular spaces inside of the book that actually applies to a number of different things that we might have come across in our lives or in our everyday transgressions as we move from day to day, place to place, or whatever. I read the book once, but I'm going to guarantee you that I'm going to read it again and again because I realized that certain pieces of the book called to me and reminded me of different times in my past when I was praying or reaching out or whatever, getting ready to sing that same song, "It's me, it's me, it's me, oh Lord, standing in need of prayer." And, some of the chapters that stand out for me, I'm sure, may be different from the ones that stand out for you, because he's got 16 or 17 chapters inside of the book in which he goes specifically into one thing or another that would speak to you, speak to your heart, the way that some of the chapters spoke to mine. One chapter talked about speaking life, and he quoted Proverbs 18:21, which read, "The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit." When I thought about that one, I remembered my mom praying as a child. When I was about 10, my dad had cancer, and he kept it and fought it for 29 years until he passed. And what happened was I would see her praying over and over again, and I was wondering what she was praying for. But then one year when he had cancer, he was getting operated on, everybody was praying because he was gone for so long. And we were wondering whether he was going to be able to make it back or not. And, when we were praying, we were never one of those big kumbaya families where everybody would be praying and holding hands in one room, which was kind of disappointing when I look back at it. But we were all praying in different rooms in our own ways or whatever. I have 11 brothers and sisters, so, I know when 2 or 3 are gathered, we thought about that. But we were all gathered in different rooms and praying. I was praying in my space, and he came through the door on Christmas Eve, and it was the greatest gift that we got that year, that I've gotten in any year that I can think of for the most part, because I realized what it was for my mom to be able to speak life and to not think that he was going to pass away at that time. He did die years later, but we got 15 years after that of my father being around and cracking his jokes and dropping wisdom whenever he possibly could to teach us and help us to grow and get stronger and better. My mom was a great prayer warrior, and what I learned from that moment was that your prayers, when you speak with that particular confidence, she didn't give the the enemy any opportunity. She was speaking in the affirmative and praying in a positive. And I realized that she had the full honor of God about her because she spoke that he was going to come home before anybody knew it. And then my brothers, I guess they were trying to surprise her by going to pick him up from the hospital and bringing him home or whatever. But when he got there, he spoke in confidence that he knew he was coming home, and she said she knew he did too. And I watched them hug each other, and it was a strong moment for me as a child. I realized the power of prayer in that moment. I never thought about my prayers being that strong, but I realized that hers were, and all of us praying together, it made a difference, even if we were in different parts. And that's what I thought about. I thought about that particular passage because I realized the way that the church has been scattered through COVID-19 with everybody in different places or whatever. We're still the church, and we're still members of faith and folks who are praying in their different places and different spaces. No matter what's going on around us, we're still people of prayer, and that's what's going to keep us strong, and that's why we're stronger together. There's another part of the book that stood out for me as well, in particular, and it dealt with purposeful prayer. And he quoted 2 Chronicles 29, which reads, "If calamity comes upon us, whether the sword of judgment or a plague of famine, we will stand in your presence before the temple that bears your name, and will cry out to you in your distress, and you will hear us and save us." I thought about that one in particular, and I remembered I was praying with a friend. I had gotten stuck in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, and I was one of the folks down at the convention center with so much madness and chaos going around that it was actually unbelievable to watch people breaking windows, looting, and some other folks just kind of sitting and staring like, what is this all about? And I realized that this part of the book spoke to me about that Katrina madness that everybody else was dealing with. And I sat with a friend that I met there. Actually, Mr. Lockett is deceased now, but he's a friend, the father of one of my classmates from high school. And I was praying, and he saw me praying, and we were talking about what I was praying about. And I was like, well, you know, my children are already evacuated, and I'm worried about them and wondering how they're going to be taken care of. And he prayed for his sons and his family, and I prayed for my girls. And that kept us focused with all that was going on around us. We understood and felt that God was taking care of them, that hedge of protection, that blood covering was taken care of our loved ones, even though they weren't physically with us at that time. And so it made us different men at that point. We could focus on what it is that we need to do, help some folks who were doing worse off than we were, deal with some of the issues and try to calm some people down. I was actually laughing at myself at one point because I was interviewed by CNN after Katrina, and they were saying, well, why aren't you upset and screaming and howling and angry like everybody else? And I said, well, God is with me. And besides, if I did act a fool and clown and scream and holler and break stuff or whatever, who would be here to calm me down? I think I'm here to calm them down more than anything else. So they turned the cameras off and walked away, which I thought was comical at the time. But, I realized who I am at that particular point. I'm a man of God. I'm a man of prayer. And my life changed during those strange times that I was in when I was praying with my friends or whatever, or the friend that I made in particular during that particular part of my life. And I realized that I'm a better man because I pray. And I realized that a number of folks may not recognize me today because they remember the old me, the one with all of the bad jokes and things or whatever, but the new me, the man of prayer, the man of God, the one that's always focused on what he needs to focus on, is the one that I want them to be proud of, the one that I want them to know. It's the one that the book has helped me to bring out a bit more and more. I realized something else when I read the book. I understand that I've spent most of my adult life as a coach and a teacher, and the best classes and the best teams that I've worked with were always the ones that prayed. We would pray before class, we'd work together, and then we'd pray after. We pray before competition, we compete, and then we pray after. We realized that we were stronger together with prayer at that time, and I realized that I'm stronger because of it today. As you look through the book, I hope that you'll find in it what I've found, a number of different strong prayers that will lead you to a better understanding of who you are as a prayer warrior, a man or a woman of God.